following is a production of Dirty Mo Media.
Right, but to say you have one arm is not fair. I have to put in a call then.
Wonder who we got to call there. Okay, well, if you're listening,
We out here, man.
Back 560. That's his identity.
Japan got me last time.
We need the fans to tweet at NASCAR. I'm like, we need the fans to take
So
this
now I'm
lead
preparing
for
for
us.
Japan.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, they do. They yelled out,
I'm ready for
At
them.
NASCAR.
"Hey, 560." They do it all the time.
Yeah,
We
that's why I said if somebody
ready.
else had that number next year, that would be a heck of a burden to carry.
Yeah.
We
Well,
ready.
off-track stuff. There, we didn't have much except for maybe a couple of pickleball matches this week.
Yeah, we can just get into the truck stuff, right?
Sure. I mean, we can if you want to skip it.
It's just not.
I got
it's
one
just not
arm.
my favor to talk about.
I
this.
got one arm, so I just figured this would be your best shot.
That's not true. You were way worse last year.
Well, yes. I've gotten better over time, but I've.
Right, but to say you have one arm is not fair. That's
It
just
is
not-
absolutely
it's
fair.
not. It's not.
Okay.
The performance at least does not show that.
Well, it's luckily this game, elder people can play like myself, and we don't have to move around much. We don't have to swing hard. We can just kind of put it in spots where you can't get to it.
Shouldn't you have gotten better since last year too, Jared?
Oh.
Like
No.
that's kind of how sports works. Like you progress.
I just don't play that much, and rely on a natural athletic ability to carry me through.
Talk about
that's a joke.
baseball?
I don't have a natural athletic ability. But anyway, what Denny's getting out here, he wants to say that he beat me 2 games
You
to
say it.
0
Yeah.
in pickleball. This bet that we've had going for the majority of the season, he won. He beat me twice.
Okay.
And that's it.
All right. Thank you. That's all we need. Moving on. The Truck Series. What a show that was. I mean, what a show. It was fucking terrible. I don't even know how
Dang.
else to put it. I mean, it was just one of those things where, hey, are you hitting a button every time I cuss?
Yeah.
Is it a marker
Yeah.
button?
Yeah.
Nice.
That's good observation by you. But if you
Do it again.
But if you cuss like close to each other, I'm not gonna like
Oh.
try to separate it. I've been missing a few lately, so I'm trying to be more.
Yeah, oh yeah, we know. We know.
Well, I've all right. I know my mom's listening. I got to back her down. Okay. It was just not good. It wasn't a good look, and obviously it's kind of old news now, and people kind of forget about it. But man, what a terrible precedent that set.
Dang.
Just for how to race for a championship and whatnot. Just generally speaking, just how guys drove each other. Anyway, I mean, I don't know why they thought that. Well, it's the last race, so I can just grind all my axes right here in this race. Like a lot of the wrecks weren't even some championship contender guys that are going for it. They're just a part-time guy wrecking a full-time guy, or a full-time guy wrecking a part-time guy. It was just, I just don't get it. They just lost their brains, and maybe they watched the Xfinity race from the previous week and saw that it was okay, and now are doing this on the regular. So yeah, just not a good look. I worry. I worry about the long-term stuff of when you do nothing about it, and you saw my tweet on X, just basically saying, this is what happens when you don't have rules or officiating, and it's, you get a messy product, and so I definitely stand by that, because I believe in the long term, you're not gaining any new fans by allowing that to happen. I believe, this is my opinion, that you
Now we want
take
research
the
speed.
casuals that watch it and say, this isn't a real sport. Like, they just knock each other out of the way. They just wreck each other. It's like a demo derby. I can watch that on Saturday night when I look at track. We're supposed to be professionals, right? So it just, in my opinion, is a bad look. And you know, if you want to sit at the adults table for dinner, you have to act like an adult. And none of them acted like an adult. And, you know, I saw where one of the owners is like, you know, I wouldn't hire any of those guys. I agree.
I mean, is the problem though really no rules or no officiating? Like, is that really the answer? Doesn't
Yes.
this come down to the people?
I
in
believe
the
so, because
racing the cars.
yeah, so to me it's the same as the restart zone, right? We said, hey, this is getting out of hand. And so what NASCAR did is then they said, okay, we'll get involved. So when they saw some bad restarts and guys laying back, they then called it. Well, I looked at Phoenix, and the field is bunched up, right? I mean, Phoenix is a different racetrack anyway. The runs are a little different.
Political
but
power, yeah, we do need it.
it only takes a couple calls for them to say, you know what, we're not going to put up with this circus. You know, you're not going to just keep sending us under caution every 10 seconds. Like, that's not good for us. To make a call and say, that was deliberate. We watched you not only hit the person, but then gas up and
Oh,
keep
shoot, I need
going.
to do
Like,
this.
never give the person. You don't have to call the racing incidences. And someone even mentioned, well, do you call, like, for an instance, do you call the Carson Hocevar and Corey Heimreich? No, that was a racing incident. However, what we saw is bad driving on restarts where people jammed it in, ran into someone's bumper, and then just kept driving until they spun them out. Or the person who ran directly into, I think it was a 25 truck, just deliberately took them out into turn 3. Like, that is deliberate, and it's just not a good look. So I think that it just takes you to make one deliberate call. There's going to be 10 of these instances at the Clash. They could use the Clash as an example to say, okay, if this gets out of hand, like, the Clash keeps getting more and more like that truck race in Phoenix. Every time we go there, it gets more and more like it, where people just are accepting of, all right, I'm going to power drive you into the car in front of you, and that guy will get either wrecked or spun, and I'll move up a spot. Like, that's what mentality is going on right now. You got to stop it. If you stop it once or twice, you'll have the racing that we're supposed to see.
I mean, can't you just have like to me this is just all a problem with the drivers in the truck series. Like, you don't have this issue on Saturday. You don't
Because they
this
have no
issue-
discipline.
Right. So to me, then this is way bigger than just creating a couple rules for the children's table. Like, this is the problem with the people at the table.
Dang.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying, Jared. I don't
Right,
know
but-
where the confusion is.
Okay, but I'm saying is that you have 3 tables, and one table is acting up all the time. Instead of creating rules just for that table, just
It's
don't
not
have.
just that series. We saw it in Xfinity, same thing, last week.
I mean, the truck series.
And then
is-
the
is-
Cup, I just mentioned that it's gonna happen in the Clash, unless the adult, which is NASCAR, I'm calling them the adult, says to the children, no, that's not how you're supposed to do this. We're a professional stock car series.
I'm in here, war
Act
China.
accordingly.
Right,
I mean,
just
I
feel like
am
this truck
China.
race on whatever it was.
I'm in
Friday,
war. And
it's
I'm
way
China.
different than-
Watch it, listening to NASCAR, baby.
It's way more egregious.
Travis, tell him, no
Dude,
f***ing way.
It was a mess this past year. An absolute
Everyone
mess.
just kept piling into each
I
other
understand,
until
but
someone
the-
spun.
But this truck race was way different, in my opinion.
Okay.
I mean, you got a bunch of guys racing for the championship, and you got 6 cautions at the end. It wasn't 6, but I'm just throwing the number out there. And you've got one with 3 laps to go. Is Corey Heim, paying back Carson Hocevar with 3 to go? That alters the ending of the truck race. Like, that's just way different than the Clash. The circumstances are just completely
Okay, what
different.
about the Xfinity the week before? I mean, it was never ending. It's the same thing.
I
It's
just put them with the.
somebody in 6th was mad that somebody in 4th bumped them.
They're
30
gonna run
laps
off.
ago to the just plow into
good.
them on a restart and wreck
They
them.
do it
I
that way.
just feel like you're opening up a can of worms by having to make calls on all these things.
It's not going to be a regular occurrence, because when the driver understands the repercussions is I have to go to the back and my race is over, they will stop it. It is self-policing in that way. And instead, the old Bill France way, oh, well, it will self-police itself. That's
Right.
what's happening out there. Someone is bumping someone, and then someone's taking it to the next level and wrecking the shit out of them. That's what's going on the track. That's self-policing. That's what's going on. These guys aren't doing it for no reason. It's because that person may have ran them slightly up the track a lap before. So
But
they're
what-
just crashing them.
But what about when the correct call isn't made? Like, what happens when?
It needs to be blatant and obvious. I don't understand. There's many instances where it is blatant and obvious. Those are the ones that you make the call on.
Okay.
Okay.
I-
It's a ball and strike, Jared, just like anything else. It's
I get it. I just feel like the majority of those are coming from guys mid-pack anyway, where the punishment
So you're
isn't going to
saying-
be. Like, it's just not going to change anything. I don't know.
I mean, the Cars Tour, they can officiate it. Do you think they have the infrastructure NASCAR does? Okay, well they're putting blatant wrecks to the back.
I will say to Jared's defense, I think there will be. You say it's balls and strike. Well, how many times is a ball called a strike? Like, there's going to be
Right.
some incidents. So then, how do you deal with that?
Say
Like, I
again?
feel like you're solving a problem, but you're potentially creating another problem.
I don't disagree. There's a cause and effect for everything, but missing a call versus not doing anything is worse for the overall sport in the long run. This is not a joke of a series. Like, we are the top 3 series in motorsports in the U.S. Officiate it accordingly. I don't understand why that's so hard. They used to park Dale Earnhardt for a lap or 2 laps when he
So this is
blatantly
gonna happen
wrecked
anyway.
someone. That's been around for a long time. And then what happened is NASCAR figured probably, well, that's actually kind of good for the sport. But then people have just taken it too far. They've taken
I do like this subjugate the warlords.
the gap that
we could do
they've
this another
given,
time.
the rope that they've been given is they're
We need
just
to get
taking too
Japan
much of
off
it.
us.
So you got to reel that back now.
How many times do you think it would take for the drivers to get the message? Couple.
Just a couple. That's fine. I mean, it just a couple's fine. But anyway, we were nearly right with Grant Enfinger just out of the blue winning the thing. He probably should have. And, you know, when you look at kind of how the last part of the race played out, you know, it was very disappointing to see Carson wreck Corey Heim. Corey was raced him clean,
Military
took
affairs.
his time getting around him. He was methodical to you know, in the way that he passed him, and then the 42 of Carson attempted to hit him once, and he did, and it didn't get him enough out of shape. So then he attempted to hit him again, and then is crying tears that he wrecked him afterwards.
Like that.
What did you think was going to happen? Like, there's a very fine line between moving someone up the racetrack and then, you know, for instance, like Larson did Blaney, right? He was trying to slow. He knew what was going to happen. He was trying to delay when it was going to happen. So he's trying to either get one more caution. If he can delay that pass for a handful more laps, then that gives him an opportunity to, if the race goes green, then there's less laps in the race. So he's going to finish less, you know, not as far in front of me, and then maybe I'll have a shot later. Or I'll get a caution, stay my track position in front of him, and then you never know what can happen on another restart. So what we saw with the 5 and the 12 in the Cup race, that was executed correctly. That was Larson trying to make an attempt to delay the inevitable with the 12 car that was faster than him and was going to pass him.
Our army will be better.
The 42 just
It's actually good. I
wiped
think.
him out, and then was, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean for that to happen. Oh, yes, you did. You meant to hit him and knock him out of shape. And the difference in the amount of force it takes to knock someone out of shape versus spin them out is a very small margin. Like, entirely small.
You
very,
know, if we
very
got
small.
anti-tanks,
So he noticed that he didn't get him out of
Maybe
shape
we don't need
enough
tanks.
the first time, so he was trying to do it again.
if we had just mad
to,
anti-tank stuff.
you know, you can argue whether he meant to knock him out of the way or wreck him or whatever.
Nah, we
it doesn't
want
matter.
tanks
The
and
result was the same.
anti-tanks. That's how
That
you
he
win.
spun the championship leader, who had just passed him clean. So it was, you know, I obviously not a good look.
We need them tanks and them anti-tanks.
Tyler Reddick tweeted something. I retweeted it because I believe what he said. Martin Truex made some pointed comments about it. I believe what he said. I'll just agree with what those guys are saying, and that he's got a long way to go for sure. Especially racing on Sunday, he's got a very, very long way to go.
That tweet from Reddick was, "This dumbass will never learn."
Yeah, I mean he will learn. It's just going to take it appears it's going to take a very, very long time because he doesn't learn very well.
Although we were just singing his praises here a couple weeks ago,
Yeah,
which is ironic.
yeah. I mean, I think because of the performance that he's had,
Right.
winning races and whatnot. Yeah, he went through definitely a phase in the middle of summer where he wasn't crashing people all the time. It stemmed from, remember Martinsville, he hooked right rear, hooked somebody. Yeah, I mean, we've seen a little bit of this stuff happening in the Cup race. I mentioned it when he wrecked Ty Gibbs for whatever reason last week. And then when I've been around him too, I've just seen him get on some people's nerves. Let's just say, leave it at that. And so, you know, it just takes time to learn, and you're gonna learn that these races are really long, and you got, you know, it's give and take at times of the race, and you know, again, he is young. He will learn. It just will take, you know, a fair amount of time for him to get there.
Where do you stand on the payback that we saw on track?
Yeah, I mean, I'm so torn on it.
I couldn't wait to research that, man.
Only because I think what happened to Corey was so wrong. You know, I think in general, what Corey did was wrong. It wasn't wrong except for in that situation. It's the end of the race. You've got Grant's got this thing in the
Harmon
bag.
won.
I think it was 3 laps to go or something. Yeah, it altered the race. It obviously
We on the
altered
offensive
the
line,
championship.
baby.
You know, I don't know. It's tough for me to be hard on him because I sympathize with him because the guy had it in the bag and he got it taken away from him. You know, it's the head-banging part of this sport of, like, he did everything he was supposed to do correctly, and he ended up crash because someone chose not to race him fairly. And so he gets defined on whether he won a championship because of somebody else's decision, not his. And I don't...
I'm talking about Corey Hunt.
Yeah. And so he's pissed off in the moment, right? And he's like, I'm not waiting till next year. Next year, my emotions ain't going to be what they are right now. And so I'm, you know, did he mean to bring out a caution? I don't know. But he definitely meant to run him up the racetrack. There's no doubt about that.
Right. It's funny because, you know, this situation may not have turned out the same, but if Corey Heim kept this car on the racetrack and didn't destroy his own truck, he could have had a chance to still win the championship
Yeah, man.
with the way everything
Yeah, I
played
was
out.
watching how it was going to play out, and he was done. Yeah, he would have had to hit. It just he was done. The other two, Ben Rhodes and
If he didn't take the right side off his truck in that caution, is what I'm saying.
yeah, but he was going backwards. Like, he wasn't able to keep up with any of those guys anyway. Like, he was already the third guy in championship line.
Right. It just the way it turned
Yep.
out. It's like if your truck was on the track, you had a chance.
And this is
Yeah.
his last chance to pay back Carson.
Game-based stability.
Yeah. That's true too. I didn't think about that. Yeah, because Carson's moving on, right? And
Right.
he's not.
Yeah. I don't know. That just seems like an off
Which
the
that's
track.
backwards, by the way.
What?
Nothing. Just making comments.
I want this army reform.
Yeah, so you had Ben Rhodes. Ben Rhodes is your Truck Series champion. I don't know who saw that coming. I with all due respect to Ben Rhodes, I I didn't. He was invisible. He didn't have a whole lot going on this year, but he won the race that it mattered, and he's the champion again. And we got to see the great Ben Rhodes presser after. What's interesting is they said he goes from
Region-wide
being totally
industrial
sober out of the truck to 10 minutes
something.
later absolutely hammered in the media center. And so I guess that happens between the transportation of Ben between the car and the media center, or what? When
the
does it get?
Champagne in Victory Lane.
Oh, he just kills it.
They said they moved his barn appearance to after the press conference, so he knew that and just went all in on the champagne, the Victory Lane champagne.
Before they did the barn, and then
They moved. If I got this right, they moved last year when he won, or 2 years ago when he won the truck championship. He went to the barn first, and then the media center, which is why he was so hammered. But this year they changed it to put the barn after his media center, and he heard that they did that, so he just got hammered in Victory Lane on the champagne.
Gotcha. You know, it's so interesting. I hear you saying the barn. Like, we're talking about the spots that we're gonna watch the F1 race when we're in Vegas. Could you imagine one of those? Hey, we can watch in turn 4 at the barn. Like, it's just the lingo. It's just so different, and
Yeah.
you know, paddocks, and it's just different. It's just different. But yeah, so that was interesting. It goes to a bigger, wider question in my mind, because I don't want to jump too far ahead, but it was very similar to Blaney's in the sense of, Blaney was more dominant in the round of 8 than say Ben Rhodes was, where he was kind of more surviving and getting the best out of his day, and then just win. Well, I guess he didn't win the race, right? No. And then he ran well at Phoenix, and he won championship. Same with Blaney, right? You got to just be good at Phoenix now. Is that the new riddle to winning a championship?
You got to be good the final 4 races. You got to get to the round of 8 and then just be good the final 4 races.
It appears that riddle works. It's just focus on a couple races.
Yes, we need this.
Well, think about this. Ford this year won 8 cups, 5 Xfinity, 6 trucks. They had
We
all
trying to
3
get tanks out.
I don't know. I just think that it's why we were talking about Blaney. He's going to be the fastest. It just historically that's been a really good Penske track, and they did it. They did it. If you take them to
Okay, here go Army
somewhere
reform.
else, maybe it's a different outcome. But he was good at all the. He was good the last 5 races, like legit. Like,
Yeah, he was very
really
good.
fast, like out of the blue, and so it was a game changer when he showed up in the round of 8, and really last couple races of the round 12, like he was starting to come on, and the next thing you know, whoa, where'd he come from? We even talked about on the show. I don't think he has the speed. I think not him personally. The cars had not shown any speed. And what's interesting is the 22 has not shown any speed. Like, there's usually not a gap between the two. So he just either stepped up his game and got a lot better, or the cars got better, or whatever it was. The last 5 races won him the championship.
Yeah, listening to the teardown this morning, I guess the last shout out for that show this season, was reminded that earlier in the playoffs, Joey had said, we just want to hang around long enough until we figure it out.
Yeah, whatever they figured out, they gained a ton in a very, very short amount of time.
But that's the goal, right? It's just hang around in the playoffs, make it from advance through the rounds, and if you're not good in the round of 16, maybe you'll figure it out by the round of 8.
So it's like what I was talking about with the 12 and the 5 and the 42 and the 11 in trucks. They're trying to delay the inevitable to maybe catch a break. And
I like
so
this,
that's what
actually.
you're saying is what Joey was talking about, is that we're just trying to hang around long enough for something good to happen. And it did.
It was 4 to
And it
5.
did. Joey didn't make it, but the 12, I don't know why Joey didn't make it. More than likely had a bad race or two, finished bad. But usually you can make it to the round of 8 by still being just solid. You know what I mean? You don't have to be great in the round of 12 to make 8. You got to be just pretty solid.
Yeah.
You got to just not suck in the round of 16. Be solid in the round of 12.
Not have anything happen to you.
You got to be great in the round of 8 and then the final race. But, it's apparent to me personally, and I hate to jump too far ahead. But like if people say, "Well, how are you going to win a championship next year?" I'm like, I got to run better at Phoenix.
Yeah, I mean, you
we
got to
gotta
run better at the round of 8. You run good through the round of 8.
We ran good enough. We ran good enough to make it. The mechanical failure kept us from making.
Sure, well, I'm including that.
But it doesn't matter unless the 11th team gets better at Phoenix. It doesn't matter. Again, we can win 35 races. It doesn't matter. You if you're not really, really good at Phoenix, none of this matters, right?
Correct.
So do you up how much like sim time and stuff on Phoenix in the off season?
Yeah, what's the recipe to getting better?
We don't have this yet?
You got to figure it out. There's different ways you can work on it, but I mean, like I look in general, and I mean, Truex was somewhat up front, but it was.
We're going to try to
that
build tanks
strong.
in 60 days.
Generally speaking, like even Seabell didn't qualify his normal, and in the race he was okay. I was watching plenty of SMT, and the 12 is still stronger, much stronger than he was in the long run.
Oh, man.
So it was going to be difficult. So it's interesting. I mean, we knew the format. We've always known this format, but it was just, this is the first year that, in my opinion, the Ben Rhodes and the Ryan Blaney's where they just got good in the last couple races and won the championship. Like they got, when I say good, they got great. They didn't get good. They got great. And won. And so can you just hang around and get past some of these summer races and whatever and just win it in the end? It appears that methodology works. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to count on that, but it worked for those guys, and certainly, I can't find the account, but there was a really good count on X that shows like the stat leaders in all these different categories, and you see like the general, like I saw the truck series, it's like Corey Heim leads most of this, and Carson Hosfar led a little bit of this category. Like you kind of see all of it, and then it's kind of, you see who was really up front the entire year, and like, and you never saw Ben Rhodes on any of it, which was crazy. Like it, and I don't even remember how he made it to the round of 8. I think didn't he have a different strategy or something at Homestead? I think he had a different strategy.
Yeah.
And then it worked out
Made
for
it
him.
by a couple of points, if I'm remembering correctly.
Because they really weren't very good on speed, but they just had a different strategy. They got in, and next thing you know, they survived that mess of a race and won the championship. So it's a head scratcher for me, for sure. I clearly have not figured out this riddle, and it all seems to boil down to you got to have good luck at the end. You can't have a bad race in the round of 8, and you got to be great at Phoenix, and that's what made Blaney, in our eyes, the favorite going in there. He historically has been great there, and Penske has, and it showed up once again that it favored that one team.
Yeah, Ben Rhodes squeaks into the championship for it with strategic call at Homestead is the headline.
Got to redesign it, I think.
And now he's your champion. It's
Just keep your day
crazy
alive. I mean, that goes
crazy
back.
sport, man.
We'll be talking about this soon enough with Daytona, but that goes back to your philosophy on blocking, right? It's just keep your race alive as long as possible. You don't know what could happen.
Mm-hmm. Is Coke Zero Sugar the best Coke ever? I know that's a bold question, but it's got that irresistible taste to back it up. Well, one thing's for sure, when you've got an irresistible match like zero sugar and 0 calories, something sensational is bound to happen. It's like when me and my co-host Jared team up to make a podcast. It's too bad you can't taste with your ears because Coke Zero Sugar tastes so amazing. It's hard to put it into words. But hey, that's my job. At least on Mondays, you have to taste it for yourself. Coke Zero Sugar, the best Coke ever. Well,
we skipped over the Xfinity race.
no, well, we didn't because I didn't really go into the Cup race quite yet. But we're getting there. So Cole Custer wins Xfinity. Hats off to all the Xfinity competitors. Way to finish that race. Way to do a good job racing it out. I thought that John Hunter was in a really good position to win that race. I thought he just overdrove turn 1.
I'm waiting for this
And that's why he went
artillery to
straight.
finish.
I didn't see any flat
I think this
tires
affects
or
the tanks.
anything like that. I don't know. I wasn't in the car, so it's tough for me to say, but it looked like just went too deep, slid up the racetrack, and then he got in the loose stuff
Dope.
outside the groove and lost some positions. But then you saw a great, I think it was 2 or 3 wide into turn 3. Everyone overdrove the corner. Allgaier, he was in there. He overdrove the corner. He got up too high. Cole Custer overdrove the entry,
hold
but
on.
was able to pull it down on the exit. And, you could argue the best car won. It was close between him and John Hunter, who had the fastest car. It looked like they were tit for tat pretty much the entire event. Then it was kind of Justin Allgaier. Then it was Sam Mayer. But Cole Custer, really happy for him.
You gotta build those.
He's a really good guy, and he tried to cut his teeth in the Cup Series, and he had some success. I think he won in his rookie year, but it just kind of went downhill from there. I mean, it's really tough to say now in retrospect. Now that we've had a little time, like, did he just, was it him or not? I think he's going to get his spot back in the Cup Series sooner than later. Certainly his results in the Xfinity Series, as much as he's proving himself, he probably deserves that. And so he gets to enjoy this Xfinity
Let's make the
win,
template.
as he should. Him and John Hunter.
Oh yeah.
You feel like
God.
we're just the most consistent. I mean, Justin Allgaier was really strong as well the second half of the year. But those three, you wanted to see
think
one
this is where we
of those
want.
three really win the championship, just because I thought that they were the most dominant the entire year. And more than likely, if you saw this big old giant stat column of all these different stats of laps led and driver ratings and top 5s, top 10s, wins, they're going to take up the bulk of the page on that. And so it's good to see that Cole was able to bring that home. And great to see Tony in there and how excited he was as well that Cole won it.
And this kind of
that's
goes
dope.
back to
We just switched them to heavy tanks.
drivers where if it doesn't work out in the Cup Series on your first go around, if you drop
Man.
back down to a lower
That's just
series
how
and
much I got.
win races, right, and keep your name on the map, you'll likely get that
Oh, no,
second
I got
chance. You're going to see it
Yeah.
with
It's
John
cost
Hunter,
15.
and like you said, it seems like
That's
it'll be
dope.
inevitable for Cole Custer one
Yeah.
of these days.
Yeah, and that's what it's designed to do, right? And Xfinity is kind of the stepping
The
stone
armor
to
division,
Cup.
boy.
The cars don't relate as much as they used to, for sure. Probably the truck series is a little bit more equal in how you drive them to what a next-gen car is. But yeah, it is, it's considered the second-tier series, and Cole Custer finally gets his championship there.
Cup Series on
Yeah, we got
Sunday,
28,
as I
cost
think Travis
25.
pointed out, Ford
I like this.
sweeps the weekend.
Tanks
Swept
and
it.
anti-tanks.
Out of nowhere. Out of nowhere, for sure. But
And
I thought
we
that
got,
the race kind of played out
3 more?
how
We
it
can fit
looked
3.
like practice was going. Even though we did have an extended practice that this weekend, the 12 car had the most speed. It seemed like. Then it was kind of the 20. And I thought that the 24 and the 5 were going to lack a little speed. I think you had even seen in William Byron's comments, or someone at Hendrick's comments,
we're
about
not making
the
like
lower
tanks.
downforce package. They're not as good. Their cars
Infantry
aren't as
costs
good.
5.
They don't have as much speed. Just outright speed and long run speed. And I think that kind of showed up on Sunday. I thought that The 12 was methodical, making his way to the front. It was a matter of time before he got there. If he ever controlled the
heavy
race,
tank
it was
is
going to be a
5.
snoozer. Because challenging. I believe it was already challenging
Ooh.
from what I hear, passing for
Okay.
the lead.
Dang.
Um,
I'll do it again.
but I think that he was by far the best.
Heavy tank.
The 5 car
Heavy
just
tank.
really lacked long
Heavy
run
tank.
speed. That's kind of their
So
Achilles heel.
anti-tank.
It seems like is that they've got such fast speed at the beginning of runs. This is just generally speaking, not just about Phoenix. That they struggle with long run speed. That's more than likely Larson pushing the car, to its absolute capability, which makes them so lightning fast. But eventually something has to wear down, and it's usually the tires that do that. But he put up a great effort, a valiant effort, trying to hold off what was the fastest car of the weekend, which was the 12 of Blaney. The 24 made it out on pit road. Didn't he take the lead like 2 or 3 times on pit road? Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess I see this both ways, but there's
So now
there's
we
a
got the
long
armor
gap
division
between the
making tanks.
camera at the end of pit road, and then where
Now let's go back to the
yellow line
factories.
is, where they stop, where pit
Okay.
road speed ends. Do we have to give the number 1 pit box that big of an advantage? Like, I'm wondering,
Wait.
it's such a big race. Why do you? If we had another champion decided on pit road, is that really? I mean, I guess it is a team sport, so it is. So you want to give the
Now we
pit
gotta
crew
make the
guy
heavy
a
tank.
chance, and it's up to the driver and the team to keep putting themselves in position for the pit crew to put them out first.
Right. Well,
But it is a considerable time difference in having the number 1 stall versus having, the 5th stall.
Right.
Whatever
Well,
it might be.
it's funny you say that. Not that he had the first stall, but Larson had said he wanted
And
more
we got
pit stops.
3
he wanted
left.
to pit more often because he knew his pit
that's
crew
all
was
we
so good
needed,
he
I
could
think.
gain those spots he couldn't gain on track on pit
Mhm.
road. However, ultimately, the guy who did
Oh,
come
yeah,
out on pit
armor.
road first on the final
Then it
caution
costs
was
8
not the
to
winner of the
replace
race.
those.
Right, which that's why we saw a great battle there, right? Is that, I think we kind of knew that the 12 team had definitely gotten better, but I just didn't think that they had the all-out speed that the 24 and the 5 had. The 5 had most top-end speed, I felt like. The 24 most solid, like fast and solid. And then, then the 20 and the
Kinda
12
good we could get for
after
free.
that. And it kind of played out that way. And, like Larson's saying, that's why they love cautions, right? They love cautions because they're going to gain spots on pit road, and then it fits their
Some extra
car's
ammo.
handling characteristics as well, which is to be fast on the short run. So they're always going to want more cautions.
Perfect.
Because it just fits kind of their MO of what their bread and butter is. Same with the 24. Once he got out of the lead, it appeared he wasn't really that strong, but he just had the track position and was able to keep it.
Oh, shoot.
And his pit crew
You need
just kept
tungsten.
giving more and more chances, which that really is how the regular season played out as well. Is that
You
he
need a
would
lot of
just keep
tungsten.
himself in the top 5, and now again he led a lot of laps too. Let's not discredit that. He led, I believe, over 1,000 laps this year. But then the pit crew would just put him out front, and then boom, he'd check out and be gone. So it's definitely
That was going on.
that number 1 stall is a huge advantage, especially in today's next gen racing where it's very, very difficult to pass. So I'm wondering to level this thing out. They've leveled everything else out. Why not level out the camera on pit road to make it so where one car doesn't have that big of an advantage over the rest of the field rolling down pit road?
Is there something to these mechanical failures that Toyota had down the stretch that kind of took away their championship hopes this year?
I think it was more of a coincidence than
There we go.
anything, because the two things don't even remotely relate with my steering issue. And then,
I'm throwing Truex's blown engine in there too.
yeah, well, that's a good point. No, it is coincidence still because they're all different. But yeah, it certainly played a role in the last 3 races, right? So I think that it's certainly not ideal. You know, we don't know. I don't know personally whether that was a setup issue with the 20 or
We really don't need more
a
of these.
driver too much brake issue. I don't know, but it if it blows a rotor out, then it's too hot. So it got too hot somehow, some way.
What's usually the reason?
It's about to go
You know,
down.
usually it's the front of the car is taped off too much, so they're not having enough air cooling it. But I
It's
heard them
about
mention
to
that the
go
20 was
down.
wide open.
We don't have no
on
tanks
that.
yet.
I think even TV mentioned
what?
that the openings were wide open on the 20 car. So then it could be, what would be the next thing? Is that a lot of right front brake bias or something? I'm not. Who knows? There's just could be a lot of different factors into it. It could be setup. It could be brake package. A lot of things. But either way, blown rotors come from too much heat. So there's not too much hidden there, and so it certainly was a bad break for Seabell. He's doing everything that he can. He's making his way towards the front. He's
Bro, this
kind of
game, I like
following
this game.
The 12's footsteps a little bit.
It's
through
it
the
cover a
field.
lot.
And the 12 got around him, I believe, and then he was following him through there.
Let's
But,
try the 60 divisions.
I think the best car of the day won the race, and well, they didn't win the race. When they won the championship of the best five, I'm sorry, the best four cars, and really for the first time since we did it in Homestead, we had a new winner.
Chinese
win the
United
race that
front,
didn't-
baby.
Wasn't part of the Final Four in Chastain. So it's just it speaks to the level of how equal these cars are, and if you get out front, you can aero block. We saw Blaney and Chastain's comments after the race, just kind of, Blaney, he says a lot on the radio when he's racing. If things don't go his way, he certainly gets upset pretty quickly, but he's upset because he feels Chastain is backing him up to the 5 car, which is coming. So while Chastain's probably just doing whatever he can to maintain the lead,
Right.
and aero blocking him, I mean that's how much of an advantage it is to be out front. Is Chastain is able to slow his car down enough to swerve through the corners, and the second place guy who runs the optimum line still cannot pass him because the minute he swerves into the wake and creates a wake for the 12 instantly loses so much grip that he backs him up.
Week.
Right. Is that a 100%
That's not
reality
great.
though? Because Blaney drove around Larson, which looked, fairly routine. So if Larson could do the same thing that Chastain did to keep Blaney behind him, then
We
why
making
wouldn't he? It
one
seems
tank a
like
week.
that Chastain was probably just a little faster than Blaney, or Blaney wasn't fast enough that he was going to just.
It's time to
go around
convert
the
maybe some of them civilian
Well, I
factories.
was watching the lap times. He was easily 2 to 3 tenths faster than him. And
So
in
then-
short track terms, let me break this down elementary. In short track terms, in Phoenix races like a short track,
Yep.
2 or 3 tenths is a mile faster, and still you can't get around. Like
So
you're not
then
going to
why-
get a half a second faster. It's impossible. The cars are too
We
equal.
don't need tanks.
I don't care if you put the left front spring in the right front. You're not going to.
So then why could Larson not keep Blaney behind him?
Because Larson made a mistake steering
We're
left.
gonna wait.
He opened up the bottom. Well, he ran the bottom of turns 3 and 4. Blaney gets a run on the
Look
top.
at him,
Blaney's got a run. Larson sees that, he's coming with the run. I'm going to cut low and cut distance here to not let him get beside me. Well, in doing that, he let the 12 get beside him on the outside because Larson himself, while steering abruptly off of turn 4, got himself loose, and then it lost him momentum to allow the 12 to get to his outside. And then it was blouses after that.
The data even shows Bozy tweeted out a graphic. Blaney was the fastest car on the track for much of the last 30 laps.
Stop exercising,
Well,
boy.
the previous 30, and then the final 10, they were all kind of even then.
Yeah, well, once he had caught, once they all get within a certain distance of another car, all the times level out.
I'm working on that
know,
battle
AJ,
plan. I should have
it
been
was
started
interesting
doing
in
that.
practice. I got caught behind AJ in the first run of practice, and he might have been the 30th worst car, and I couldn't pass him. I was just stuck for the entire first run behind him, and man, it's just the wake. It's not the wake. It's the tire horsepower ratio, all that stuff.
I think we could take him.
Is making for the passing to be so difficult, which is why we saw Chastain, who was really fast in the short run. He had some good long run speed too, but was able to hold off Blaney for as long as he did during the middle stages of that race.
What Ross did, is that, in your mind, fair racing?
Yeah, I think he's racing for a win. I think it is fair. It's unfortunate because it could play a role in the 5 catching the 12, because inevitably, if you are the leader and you're holding up traffic,
Right.
everyone's going to come to you, and what it then allows is that the 12 is going to burn up his stuff trying to get around the 1, and then the 5 will creep his way back into the picture, and then could put a move on him. If
About to
his
go to
stuff is
wall.
cooler because he's been in open track while he's been catching them. But you know, you got to think of this from
Almost forgot
Chastain's
I was streaming
perspective.
for a second.
He's had a rough,
And they do that.
an exception of one race, you know, up until this point in Nashville. It just is.
Them tanks,
He's
man.
not been the Ross that we've come to know, right? And then so he finds himself up front because of, you know, they were fast on practice, they qualified well, and they drove to the front. And he's like, well, I could win the finale. This is a big deal.
Right. You're not going to pull over.
No way he's pulling over, which is why he aero blocked as hard as he did. And so it won him the race. So how can you possibly say that move was wrong? You can't. It's just, if the final 4 are going to continue to be out there with other cars, you got to deal with this. And this is part of it. That's why you don't have 4 cars out there racing at once. You know, the other cars play a factor in sometimes who wins.
I think it also helps make this race more exciting too, because you had Harvick up there, so it's not just those 4 racing. There's a little more to it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it usually is one of the final 4 guys that wins the race.
He
There's a
ready
lot
this
that
time.
Goes into that. Sometimes it's because the teammates.
Yeah, we
we
ready this time, boy.
People go. Let their
I
teammates
want to
go.
go to wall. Let's go to wall.
That always makes for it to be quite a bit easier to find the final 4 in there, and then you know the final 4 cars for a long time were, you know, a little different than what their regular season cars were.
So now I
A little
think what we
different.
do
They were
is
just a little different. They're
we'll
just
go to here.
quarter panels were a little
And we edit
longer,
this
spoilers are a
template.
little higher. You know, it just
No.
there was just a lot of work that got done to them back when we
Infantry
had Gen 6
unit.
cars, but not with this car. As we've seen, that it's all equal. Everyone's got an equal
I guess
shot
it
to win this
upgraded
final
on
race,
its own then.
and we had a non-playoff guy do it.
What do you make of Chastain's attitude after the race, just kind of owning it? That I don't care if he's mad. You know, I was racing for a win.
Yeah, I agree with what he said. Yeah, I'd probably say the same thing. I mean, it's not my job to care about your championship. You know, they put me on the track today to go win a race, and so I did my job. That's probably the right attitude to have.
As you mentioned, Kevin Harvick's last race.
Yeah. Yeah, bittersweet because, you know, it's hard for me to not get emotional about this as well, because I see how much it means to Harvick, and when he has his family around and everything. They do the tribute videos. I mean, you just can't help but know that how much this means to this particular person, right? And, you know, Kevin, to be as competitive as he was when his team was having somewhat of an off year, Stewart Haas did not win any races this year, to still be as competitive as he was in his final year at age 48 is absolutely amazing.
Do we got an
He
airport
is a
over there?
unicorn driver. To sustain the level of performance that he had for over
Naval
47.
seven.
base.
Only 47. He's only 47.
Perfect.
Oh, he's about to turn 48 then, because I remember his contract went through till he's 48.
Yeah, his birthday is December 8th, so
Oh, okay.
in a month from now he'll be 48.
Okay. He's basically 48 years old. It's just unbelievable. I mean, you can't list all of his accomplishments. It's just, he was a team owner. He was a guy that if he raced on Saturday in the Xfinity Series, he was going to win. He, had a truck team. It just, he gave so much back to the sport on and off the racetrack. And he gave a lot to the drivers and was a great leader
No
for the
missions
drivers.
assigned. I'm trying to figure out where you get them the missions.
I mean, I think it'll be a substantial loss again for the series. I mean, is it going to be a loss like the Dale Jr. or Jeff Gordon had? I don't know.
Oh, here we
There's
go.
a lot of Harvick fans out there, so I don't know. You just hope that they latch on to someone new. But he's one of the last Winston Cup guys. He is the last Winston Cup guy that we had in our series. It was him and Kurt Busch that was 1 and 2, and so
That's all we want.
just wanna say
Superiority. They got the mission.
happy retirement. He's still going to give back to the sport by being part of the TV. I tell you, he could really improve that Fox booth a ton. I think he will push them to be better.
Oh man.
From what we've seen, NBC, the Fox, the big variation in the production that the two have, and how
Factories
much
is
one
what we
really
need,
into the
of
nuts
course.
and bolts and explaining everything, whereas the other just kind of talking about some stuff. It's just like there's a lot to be gained there in the Fox booth, and I think that Kevin will push everyone to do that and be better. So I'm excited to see how that turns out for sure. You got a great base there, so I think that there's going to be something good that's really going to happen from that.
It's going to be kind of like Tony Romo. I know he's kind of polarizing with fans, but he went straight from like playing to the booth. So Kevin's the first next-gen driver to be an analyst.
Yeah,
And
that'll
so
be
he'll be able to
helpful.
provide a perspective that's
Yeah.
not there.
Yeah, that'll be helpful. Again, I think Fox definitely could be more technical in kind of their explaining of stuff, but he will help with that. He no doubt will help with that.
conscription
And I think he's going to push Boyer and those guys all to be better. Mike Joy, he's a great anchor for that program. So it's they're certainly he's not gone. He's not going to disappear from your TV, but we're certainly going to miss him on the racetrack. He was a tough guy. I mean, he certainly didn't give you anything. He took more than he gave, that's for sure. But that's what made him Kevin Harvick, and he was just a great guy. Great guy. I got to know him a little bit when I was kind of vetting Kurt Busch and kind of debating on hiring him at the time. I had lunch with Harvick and asked about him, and Harvick, we got to talking about some different stuff, and certainly gained a lot of respect for him. And we had some run-ins earlier in our career. They were both before we both had kids, and I think that we both changed a little bit after we had kids. But it was fun. It was fun to compete against them. The 4 and 11 team for the longest time had this
Let's speed up.
friendly rivalry.
I mean, yeah, there's a
Let's get
handful
to
of
actual
things
war
on
and
the
see what
wall, right?
happens this time.
I don't think so.
You got the pie behind you.
Oh yeah.
You got the Hans.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, so it's
They're trying to bust through with
we
tanks.
definitely got to tip our hat to Kevin. Thank you for all you've done, and we'll be seeing you soon. And yeah, good luck to the 4 team. They got Josh Berry coming over there, and there's going to be a lot of changes over there in that organization that hopefully get them going back on the right track.
2311 ends their season, and both cars finish inside the top 10.
Yeah, we had 2 drivers in the top 10, which is a big deal for us. I mean, that's certainly we wish it was on the owners as well with the 23 car, but Bubba for the second season in a row drove a car to the top 10 in the playoff system. So yeah, great job. They continue to get better.
I mean, that's another thing, right? Is that just that doesn't happen unless Bubba makes the playoffs, right? Driving to the 10th spot.
Yeah, he was in the 14 14th, 15th in the driver points anyway. Before the reset for the playoffs.
Right.
But we had winners.
Hold up, this
like,
man can hold 72
well,
people.
where
in his
Ricky
army?
was, or who else made the playoffs?
McDowell.
McDowell. You know, they were further back in the points than Bubba was, but they had with the win and you're in. It's you don't have to. You just got to win.
Right.
You got 26 chances to win to put yourself in the playoffs.
I mean, Bubba finished ahead of Truex in points in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean Truex had a rough one. for
I just
sure.
mean it's one of those things, right? Like you just until you stay around until you get hot, and then you had a good final 10 weeks this season.
I think he had a solid 10 weeks. I think he ran about like he did during the regular season, honestly, where he, had some top 5s and some top 10s, and that's kind of what they were for the most part of the whole year, and he just continued that through the playoffs. So it's really a good thing that, how they performed. They were very consistent. That team got better on pit road this year. Still got some improvement to make. I think both of our teams, for our first endeavors as having our own
It's
pit
wall
crews,
time.
that was we didn't lose any ground. We still got room to improve and get better and get faster. But we thought that we eliminated a lot of mistakes, big mistakes this year. Still had some with the 45 car that kept him from victory lane a few times, but it's part of the growing process. It's why this takes 5 years and not 3. So I'm really happy with the strides that
What is
2311
this?
has made. We're 2 months away from being in our new headquarters. You've probably seen it off I-77 where 485 meets. That you can't miss it.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm excited for the future of that team and what it can accomplish. Still rooting for it to finish second every week to me. But
Yeah, wall.
One thing to highlight here with Bubba's final 10 races is that he only qualified outside the top 10 once.
Yeah,
after
not-
Daytona.
9 weeks in a row, I think he said.
Yeah.
I think I heard.
Only time they qualified outside the top 10 was Darlington. They were
Wow.
19th, but after that they were in the top 10.
Oh, we not at war.
They
We
had
only at
just
war with
tremendous
Japan.
Speed off the truck. Both
not at war
cars
with these
did. When
dudes.
they were going to practice, they were like P1, P3 every single week. So they were definitely on kill. It seemed like they struggled to keep up with the racetrack as weekends go on, just a little bit. And this is just from a kind of a dumb outside perspective of like without digging into the numbers and really seeing what's what. Like it just appeared that the field caught up throughout the weekend sometimes, but man, they got fast cars. They're driving them fast, and super happy with that whole team and what they're doing over there. So, man, they're gonna have a great place to work here in a couple months, and we'll see what happens.
We can't end this show without a final hot button topic, which is going to be NASCAR unlikely to finalize charter agreement until new TV deal is complete.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think that there's progression being made on that. I think there's some things I don't necessarily agree with. I mean, the TV media deal is likely to fall in a very general range. Why we can't get a deal done before that, I'm not sure, because it's just one part of gross revenue. I don't know. It just seems
Right.
like it shouldn't have taken this long.
Two select units
tried for
assigned to the
18
order.
months to
That's not what we
get
want
this
to do.
ball rolling much sooner, but we just really couldn't get anywhere. And but it seems like things are starting to move in a direction now, a little bit better. But certainly it's late in the deal, and probably we'll have to. It'll probably go into next year, I would guess. Because I think the exclusive time to renew is like December 31st. If we don't renew by then they expire. The charters expire, or we get some sort of an extension to have a race negotiated.
So you would race next season, and the charters extension?
Or they're not. We don't have permanent charters now. What I'm saying is that they would expire at the end of this year, then we would
Right.
have to race next year, and then lose them the following call it. So it's like a lame duck year.
Okay. So is there still
Man.
you still get money from them next year?
Yeah. They would have to. They'd have those obligations for sure, but we would also have the obligation to come race and to get that. Yeah, it's certainly later in the game than it needed to be. I think that the framework is set to kind of keep these talks going in the off season, and hopefully we come to something soon.
Dear Denny, what do you have planned for the off season, and do you get a little time to yourself?
I do get some time to myself. I'm gonna take more vacation time.
Dang, I always do that.
This year, by far, the most busy year that I've had with the podcast, race team, family. I've got drive. I've got just so much on my plate, week in, week out. I will be taking time off. I'm gonna go somewhere for Christmas instead of having
I
everyone
think that's what I
here.
want to do.
Just gonna try to get away a little bit. I've got some recovery to do physically. I've got to get some stuff fixed. Just part of normal maintenance.
Basically,
for
we
me
want
the
all these
off-season. Like,
soldiers.
what surgery are we having? You know, it's like pretty on the regular at this point. But
Everybody.
once we get that
Report.
stuff fixed, I think I certainly will be better and ready to get going for 2024. People ask this weekend, I think in a Q&A, what do you do during the off season, or do you like to do? Some people like to go race, right? You might be going racing a late model or something like that. I just learned for me personally a long time ago, my best way to get rejuvenated to keep doing this, 20 years into this, is to not race. Yeah, I have no connection to racing in the off season. It doesn't mean I don't like to watch like the Snowball Derby, which will be on Racing America, by the way. I like watching the Snowball Derby. You've got the Fall Broad Hickory. Yeah, I just like late model stock stuff that I tune into. And so, yeah, for me, it's not seeing any race cars or anything for a while is what I do. What are you going to do?
I don't have any major plans yet. I'm looking forward to food in North Carolina. Mountain Trade
Bro, that's
State
Chinese
Snow,
planes?
So I can go snowboard at least once a week.
Oh, are you going to relocate up there, or are you just going to...
I mean,
Travel back and
Japanese
forth.
planes.
Just probably travel back and forth.
You haven't found a van down by the river yet?
I have not found a van yet. I'm waiting for you to get done with your Sequoia out here, so I can just take that and rip all the seats out.
So, those who don't know, Jared is he's really taken this granola thing quite far. You're wanting
For
to
what it's worth,
you're
I-
wanting to live out of your vehicle,
No,
right?
I said I would like to have a vehicle where it's possible to live out of.
And then
I just want to, at some point in the next however many years, I just want to drive around the West, the desert, for 3 to 4 weeks.
But you
want
to stay in the desert? Like,
Yeah, go from I don't know, down in
Okay.
Arizona up to
that's cool. You're a
Seattle or
traveler.
something. Yeah, I just want to do that and live out of my vehicle. First of all, you save so much money on hotel costs.
and you don't even need to buy soap, right?
You just buy one.
Bro, we getting squashed.
I'm just saying either shampoo or body wash. Either will get it.
In
All right,
some
so
of
would
these
you rather-
regions.
we had this debate. You
Yeah.
said that you don't need
I just
body
said,
wash as long as you have shampoo.
I just said I think the
I
whole
don't even know how
shampoo
this
body
gonna
wash
go.
debate is a little for the marketing. You don't need both. Sure, both is good, but you can
But
get
you
away
both
with one or
do.
the other.
All right, so would you rather have shampoo on your body or body wash on your hair?
Shampoo in my body.
Jared, do you still have the 3-in-1?
No, I'm just saying that if you, in a situation where you're living out of a car and you need to consolidate space, a bottle of
shoot,
shampoo will
I
do it
ain't
for you
even-
for 2 weeks. It'll be all right.
All right. Well, good luck. It's
We need to get Jared a little mini TV series then. He travels out west for 3 weeks. Get a little camera crew to follow him around.
the little vlog. Oh, so already thought about
Let me guess, you're planning your
We in it.
NBC Olympic 2-week break to go out there? Wes,
Well, see, that's why I don't like that break. I actually do not like that break whatsoever. Because there's no way, I just don't think there's any way you could go away and check out for 2 weeks. So I would like to,
because
again,
you're still in season.
you're still in season, there's still work to do. I just don't think it's possible to do that. But
You'd rather have a longer off season.
correct.
I'm the same way.
I would like the 1 week in the June or whatever to go do a trip wherever, and then I want an additional week in this winter break.
Yep, I'm with you. I'm my perfect world. Our schedule would have probably 30 races. Maybe not. I mean, not even 30. 28 to 30. We're beginning of February, and then probably mid-September.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, don't get me wrong. I would love to shrink the schedule. But if it is what it is, I'd rather one extra week in winter and just have that 1 week in the June.
Okay. Well, good luck. Holler if you need anything. Anything else to wrap up this season of Access Dutch? Our very first season. What episode is this? Like 42, 43?
I think it's 41. I think. I don't
I think
know.
yeah,
Take
I'm
the over on
escaping.
that.
Yeah,
I was
I
only
think
supposed to do 40.
Well, you had
Maybe
an
a little
extra one
boner.
because you had an appeal to.
Yeah, we also
Episode.
did
Couple
one,
had a few emergencies.
we did one in Michigan too when it rained. That
Oh,
was
yeah.
an additional episode.
Well, maybe this off season we'll get back in here, cover some off season news. That wouldn't be a bad idea. Maybe once every other
I've got
month.
some-
Well, then bam, we're back in the racing season then.
Yeah. I
I'm trying to
come
click that right,
the
get off of
banquet
this,
and
man.
all that in Nashville. We'll have something to talk about.
Bro, you getting destroyed.
I got a review here before we finish up. The first rate. This is from.
The line ain't moving. Oh.
That is the username. The first race I ever watched was the 2019 Daytona 500. I instantly became a huge Toyota and Denny Hamlin fan. Now
I wanna see what's gonna happen.
311 fan. Travis, this is
It's not XI. It's just fans. Just letting y'all know when you say it, it's 2311. It's not XI. I know there's some confusion. Go ahead.
After a year later, my wife started to like Chase Elliott. She doesn't really like
Man,
racing, so
Jing.
she won't watch the race with me, but she always likes
Oh.
to know where Chase finishes. However, she loves your podcast, and we always listen together.
I didn't
We have
even know
listened
this
to
was
every single
happening.
Episode together since the first week. Thank you
Bruh.
for giving us something we can bond over. So look at that, Denny Hamlin bringing people together.
I've brought people together before.
How did
Remember
China
when
stop
we had Denny
Japan in
Hamlin
real
seats?
life?
You know, you get Denny Hamlin seats every weekend.
They must have
There was a
didn't.
guy and there was a girl. They were both solo. Their seats were together,
They must
and they
have
got
didn't.
married. Bringing people together.
That is most amazing. I didn't know that. That's amazing.
Yeah, I used to have a
Bro, we fighting for our
sweepstakes,
lives
you know,
up here.
Denny Hamlin seats. And
That's it. We
yeah,
about to
there was
become
two-
Japan.
We used to give away 2 seats, and there was 2 individuals that
And we
wanted
push it. We push
a
it.
seat, and they just
They
happened
took
to
over
both
all
be
the-
single, met, fell in love, had a kid, got married.
Dang.
You
Yeah.
also signed a marriage certificate at Martinsville.
I did. They were so excited, and I'm happy for them. I made sure I did ask them multiple times, "Are you sure?" before I signed this. But yeah, they
The
they
Chinese,
had their marriage certificate and had
the
me be their
invasion
witness. It
of
was awesome.
Japan.
Thank you. It was great, 11 fans. I want to say thank you to all the 11 fans this year. You guys have been awesome. You know, why? I don't know. We need a new hat. That's just
NYI
New hat.
F
I don't know.
Y.
More
D.
letters.
Yeah.
Another
Next
letter.
year it's our f***ing year DH.
Another letter for another year. I don't know. We're working on it. So, thank you all for tuning in this entire season. Look out for some special emergency episodes during this off season. I'll try to grab Jared from his granola adventures.
Can you fly him back from out west? It's gonna be. It might be hard. Will you have reception? Like, how will we get a hold of you?
To do one little check-in of like what's going on. Let's talk about some who's moving where. Yeah, there'll be a little news here and there, but thank you all for tuning in each and every week. You know, it's just been getting more and more popular with you guys. We're hearing it every weekend about people loving the podcast. So keep tuning in. We'll see y'all next season.
Check out Dirty Mo Media on Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram.
All right, let's try this.
Jared, you know it's passion, drive, and patience. That's what actually brings home a winning trophy on the weekends, and it's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From
Let's see if this is
superchargers,
suicide.
roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. They've got it all. Whether into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber and not cash. With all the parts you'll need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply.
I just said I think the whole shampoo body wash debate is a little for the marketing. Like, you don't need both.
Let's see how that looks.
Sure, both is good, but you can get away with one or the other.
All right, so would you rather have shampoo on your body or body wash on your hair?
Shampoo on my body.
The following is a production.
Uh-oh,
of
we're about to
Dirty Mo Media.
get China back.
Hey guys, welcome to a season finale episode of Actions Detrimental. I'm Denny Hamlin, driver number 11 for Joe Gibbs Racing. And my co-host is...
Jared Allen, purple vest 560. However, I anticipate that changing for next year.
Really?
Yeah, we got to send them back, and I assume I'll probably get a new number. I feel bad for whoever has to wear 560. That's a hell of a burden to carry.
Well, we have to change that. We have to put in a call.
Dang,
You
nah,
have
they
to get the same
pushing in
number.
there.
All right, well, you're going to put in a call.
Wonder who we got to call then. Okay, well, if you're listening, Jared's going to need his number back, 560. That's his identity. It's like your face.
We need the fans to tweet at NASCAR. I'm like, we need the fans to take this lead for us.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, they do. They yelled out,
At NASCAR.
hey, 560. They
Just
do it all
wanna
the time.
Yeah, that's why I said if somebody else had that number, that would be a heck of a
We left the line.
burden to carry.
Yeah. Well,
Cool.
off-track
Break
stuff.
this
there-
one- bring
you know,
this
we
one
didn't have
back.
much except for maybe a couple of pickleball matches this week.
Yeah, we can just get into the truck stuff, right?
Sure. I mean, we can if you want to skip it.
It's just not.
I mean, I got
it's
one
just not
arm.
in my favor to talk about.
I
this.
got one arm, so I just figured this would be your best shot.
That's not true. You were way worse last year.
Well, yes. I've gotten better over time, but
Right, but to say you have one arm.
No, you really trying to get these dudes out
It's
of China.
absolutely
It's
fair.
not, it's not. Okay. The performance at least does not show that.
Bruh,
Luckily,
that's crazy.
other people can play like myself, and we don't have to move around much. We don't have to swing hard. We just kind of put it in spots where
What you
can't
doing,
get to
man?
it.
Shouldn't you have gotten better since last year too, Jared? Like that's kind of how sports.
I forgot you
works,
could do it like
you
this.
progress.
I just don't play that much. And rely
I
on
forgot you could do
a
individual orders.
natural athletic ability to carry me through. That's a joke. I don't have an actual athletic ability. But anyway, what Denny's getting out here, he wants to say that he beat me 2 games
You
to
say it.
0 in pickleball.
We could do this.
This bet that we've had the majority of the season. He won. He beat me.
We will do this with this,
Okay.
doing it this way.
All right, thank you.
This how I
Moving-
should do it now,
moving
from
on.
now on.
The Truck Series. What a show that was. I mean, what a show. It was fucking terrible. I don't even know how else to put it. I mean, it was just one of those things where, hey, are you hitting the button every time I cuss?
Yeah.
Is it a marker
Yeah.
button?
Yeah.
Nice.
That's good observation by you. But if you
Do it again.
But if you cuss like close to each other, I'm not gonna like
Oh.
try to separate it. I've been missing a few lately, so I'm trying to be more.
Oh yeah, we know.
Well, I've all right. I know my mom's listening. I gotta back her down. Okay. It was just not good. It wasn't a good look, and obviously it's kind of old news now, and people
was
kind of
a
forget
tank.
about it. But man, what a terrible precedent that set, just for how to race for a championship and whatnot. Just generally speaking, just how guys drove each other. Anyway,
See, we strong in
I don't
some
know
parts,
why
bro.
they thought that, well, it's the last race, so I can just grind all my axes right here in this race. Like, a lot of the wrecks weren't even some championship contender guys that are going for it. They're just a part-time guy wrecking a full-time guy, or a full-time guy wrecking a part-time guy. It was just, I just don't get it. They just lost their brains.
Dude on a
and,
hill or something.
maybe they watched the Xfinity race from the previous week and saw that it was okay, and now we're doing this on the regular. So, yeah, just not a good look. I worry. I worry about the long-term stuff. Like, when you do nothing about it. And I saw my tweet on X, just basically saying, this is what happens when you don't have rules or officiating, and it's, you get a messy product. And so I definitely stand by that, because I believe in the long term, you're not gaining any new fans by allowing that to happen. I believe, and this is my opinion,
What you doing,
that
bro?
you take the casuals that watch it and say, this isn't a real sport. Like, they just knock each other out of the way. They just wreck each other. It's like a demo derby. I can watch that on Saturday night in the local track. We're supposed to be professionals, right? So it just, in my opinion, is a bad look. And, if you want to sit at the adults' table for dinner, you have to act like an adult. And none of them acted like an adult. And, I saw where one of the owners was like, I wouldn't hire any of those guys. I agree.
I mean,
Man, we just need to
is
beat
the
these
problem
dudes.
Really, no rules or no officiating. Is that really the answer? Doesn't
Yes.
this come down to the people?
I believe
in the
so, because
racing the cars.
yeah. So to me, it's the same as the restart zone, right? We said, hey, this is getting out of hand, and so what NASCAR did is then they said,
Dang.
okay, we'll get involved.
And
So
then
when
push
they
the
saw
pan.
some bad restarts and guys laying back, they then called it. Well, I looked at Phoenix, and the field is bunched up, right? I mean, Phoenix is a different racetrack anyway. The runs are a little different, but it only takes a couple calls for them to say, you know what,
I feel like we could almost
we're
like
not
punch
going to put up
through,
with this circus. You're not going to just keep sending us under caution
like break them off from
every 10 seconds. Like, that's not good
supplies
for
in
us.
a way.
To make a call and say, that was deliberate. We watched you not only hit the person, but then gas up and keep going. Like, never give the person. You don't have to call the racing incidences. And someone even mentioned, well, do you, like, for an instance, do you call the Carson Hocevar and Corey Heimer? No, that was a racing incident. However, what we saw is bad driving on restarts where people jammed it in,
It's going
ran
up
into
here.
someone's bumper, and then just kept driving
Yeah.
until they spun them out. Or the person who
So we just need to hold them off
ran
up here.
directly into, I think it was 25
This is
turns,
working, I think.
just deliberately took them out into turn 3. Like, that is deliberate,
on 'em?
and it's just not a good look. So I think that it just takes you to make one deliberate call. There's going to be 10 of these instances at the Clash. They could use the Clash as an example to say, okay, if this gets out of hand, like, the Clash keeps getting more and more like that truck race in Phoenix. And every time we go there, it gets more and more like it, where people just are accepting of, all right, I'm going to power drive you into the car in front of you, and that guy will get either wrecked or spun, and I'll move off the spot. Like, that's what mentality is going on right now. You got to stop it. If you stop it once or twice, you'll have the racing that you're supposed to see.
I mean, can't you just have like to me, this is just all a problem with the drivers in the truck series. Like, you don't have this issue on Saturday. And you don't
Because they
this
have no
issue-
discipline.
Right. So to me, then this is way bigger than just creating a couple of rules for the children's table. Like, this is the problem with the people at the table.
Yeah, I mean, That's what I'm saying, Jared. I don't,
Right,
I don't
right,
know
but-
where the confusion is.
Okay, but I'm saying is that you have 3 tables, and one table is acting up. Instead of creating rules just for that table,
Bro,
It's
it's
not
crazy.
just that series. We saw it in Xfinity. Same thing. Last
I'm
week.
about to end
I
this
mean, the
now.
truck series
And then
is-
the cup, I just
I think we
mentioned
actually
that
could
we're
do
gonna-
this to
it's gonna
survive
happen
this
in a clash,
fall.
unless the adult, which is
Even
NASCAR,
though half
call
of
them
China
the
is
adult,
Japan now.
says to the children, no, that's
Well, I
not
don't-
how
you
you're
know.
supposed to do this. We're a professional stock car
We're starting to beat
series.
them back. Oh, look at this.
Act accordingly.
Right, I just feel like this truck race.
I don't think
on
they could handle it.
Whatever it was Friday, is way different.
But
than
man, they sure came over here.
It's way more egregious.
Japan, man. What's
Travis,
going
tell
on
him
up
no
there?
fucking way.
It was a mess this past year. An absolute
Everyone just
mess.
kept piling into each
I
other
understand,
until
but
someone
then-
spun.
But this truck race is way different,
Dang.
in my opinion.
Okay.